Hi, it's Jess. I'm a artist, and today I am going to be sharing a sketchbook tour. This sketchbook I started in October of 2023 and finished it in August of 2024. I got this sketchbook from Rifle Paper Company. They create very beautiful sketchbooks with a lot of embroidery on top. This one in particular has bugs, which if you don't know, I do a lot of entomology art, so bugs are very on brand for me. I do happen to have two of their other sketchbooks that I will eventually show. So without further ado, let's get started. So on the first page, I have this vampire woman. She has no pupils. I was starting this sketchbook in October, so I believe I just wanted to draw some Halloween themed illustrations. Here I have a fairy and a zombie, and they also have no pupils. I was practicing some figure drawing and just like really random doodles. Here I have a fox that I did end up turning into a sticker for my small business. On this page, I played with pen and ink more. I have these really funny looking skunks over here and a fawn. I just doodled randomly over here, and I don't even know what this is. On this page, I tested if Copic markers would bleed through, and they do bleed through. This ink pen, brush pen did not bleed through. So yeah, these are just some sketches that I did. On this page, I have this devil girl with horns, just playing with fashion and stuff. Some random sketches. I really want to improve my animals. Here I just have a cat and a fox. I really like this page. I love this illustration. It is from a photo that I found on Pinterest, but I did edit it a lot, and I really like the concept of like the rain inside the umbrella. So I might end up turning that into something, but who knows. Over here, I started playing with colored pencil. This paper does really well with colored pencil. It's just a girl holding a rabbit stuffed animal. On this page, I tried to get back to fundamentals a little bit more. Same with this page. Same with this page. And then over here, I did some really random doodles of these keys that I have on my dresser and my cat Scarlet. It's really funny, honestly. Everything seems to derail on this page. Some more kind of bad sketches and drawing some random stuff on my desk. And then on this page, I practiced some perspective. And then again, just some anatomy more. Here are some characters that I made. They are just these little cute stuffed animals, and I really like them. Maybe I'll do something with them at some point, honestly. Here is just another girl practicing fashion. I really like this pose, and I really like this style of hair. A lot of the photos that I do reference in my sketchbook are from Japanese street fashion photos. I really love the fashion in Japan and the variety that exists. Some feet studies from Pinterest, some more portrait studies. I think these are Tombow markers, so those don't bleed through. Over here I have some clowns. I really love clowns. I would love to do a final piece with clowns. I just haven't for some reason. But going through this, now I want to like revisit this concept. I have some more clowns over here. I don't really like these sketches. I did write that I was sick with a cold at the time, so I feel like you can see that in my art. I wrote, "Why are hands so hard?" Just trying to practice hands. Some random doodles. Over here I have a witch with a funky looking cat. Some more figure drawing studies. Here I was practicing some more portraits, and this eye study is directly from Pinterest. I drew two of the main characters from Education. I absolutely loved that show, and this was right after I finished the final season. Over here, this was a weird spider that I drew from a dream, and it looks nothing like a spider. And then here is a performer doing aerial silks, and it's really bad. On the next page, I'm just going to cover up some writing over here. I drew a wolf and a woman, and I really like this composition. I don't know if I'll ever do something with it. I used to draw wolves a lot in my art, but I've kind of, I don't want to say gravitated away from that. I just haven't really done it in a while. I think it can be sort of cliche. Over here I have a sad clown smoking a cigarette, and I wrote, "Drawing is hard because I want to rush it and I see how far my skills need to grow, and that gets discouraging. I have all these ideas I want to express but need to master the fundamentals." I still feel this way. It's fine. Over here I have a mermaid, and she's eating an apple. Some more Pinterest studies. "Anatomy is hard, but I just have to keep practicing. Everything takes time and consistency." I definitely try to encourage myself a lot in my sketchbooks with little notes and stuff, because art is hard. It's not always the best, and some days you feel a lot better than others. Some more Pinterest studies. I eventually started like straying away from studying other artists' renditions of anatomy because I felt like certain studies were just wrong anatomically. So, is what it is. Over here I have another performer, just a really rough sketch. Just going to cover up some more writing. I have these colored pencil eye studies. I had a lot of fun with these. I continued with colored pencil over here, just practicing some posing and some more fashion. These were from Pinterest. I wrote, "Drawing men is so foreign to me. I definitely need to practice a lot of anatomy." This still rings true. I primarily draw women. This is a funky looking wolf and a silly looking fox. I have more writing I'm going to cover up here. I was having a bad day, if you couldn't tell by this drawing. Just some random doodles and trying to come up with concepts. I was reading Sarah J. Maas's ACOTAR series at this time, and I forget the name of this character that I was drawing. Yeah, I don't remember, but I was practicing and it was fun. I wrote, "Give yourself credit for everything, even the small ones. A year to laugh at your mistakes, let go of perfectionism. Business is the spotlight in 2024, which is really funny because I stepped away from my small business in 2024. I drew a guy over here and it came out really bad. Here's some more writing about things that I wanted to make. I quoted Connor from Love on the Spectrum. "Love is a dagger, a pretty thing that sometimes hurts." I really love Connor. I think he's fantastic. Over here, these were some stickers that I made for my small business. These were just the failed versions from my Cricut machine, so I just stuck them in here. These were some more stickers that I made from my small business. These are my oddities and curiosities stickers. Some more sketches. I have some women in Victorian clothing. I reference a lot of Lolita fashion from Japan as well. I really love ruffles and frilly things, if you haven't noticed. Again, the sketchbook kind of derails and I feel like everything kind of gets worse. I made mini bone frames for my small business, and I guess this was going to be sketches, and then I decided that I would just draw them on my iPad, so nothing came out of these pages. Some more really bad sketches. Oh gosh. Don't look at these too closely. Okay. I feel like I finally felt better on this day. I ended up turning this into a painting, actually. I do prefer the sketch, but you know, that happens sometimes. Over here, I was practicing portraits a little bit more and just shading as a whole. Just random stuff. This girl's really creepy looking. Some more portrait studies. This is another brush pen study. Over here, I have a mermaid that I drew in my car on the way to somewhere. These are just some notes from a Jess Carp video. I really love her videos. I think she's a very talented artist and has a lot of positive things to share. I did do a 100 hands challenge. This was honestly a lot of fun, although I do feel like my hands got worse over time, and I don't know if that was because I was just tired of drawing hands or what happened, but I did notice immediately after finishing this challenge that I intuitively understood hands better. Like I could draw them pretty accurately without looking at a reference, but I do feel like I've kind of lost that skill. I think you just need to practice something over and over again to really embed it into your memory. This is my cat Scarlet as a mermaid. She's adorable, I love her so much. Some more Pinterest studies. Same with these. These as well. And on the last page, there are more Pinterest studies. And that's the end of the sketchbook. This is just some flyers and random things. All right, I hope you enjoyed that. I really loved experimenting in this sketchbook. I will say it's not one of these beautiful sketchbooks that you see on YouTube, and seeing those videos, as inspiring as they are, it often held me back because I felt like everything I had to make in a sketchbook had to be perfect. So I think when you detach yourself from perfection, you begin to actually experiment with your creativity and grow as an artist. So I hope seeing a more realistic sketchbook helps you and encourages you to draw whatever you feel like drawing. So without further ado, I will see you in the next video. Bye.